Greetings and welcome to the Sports Shuffle fantasy football. Whatever we're gonna do.
The
Everybody's injured.
pretty much the just when you think like so and so is safe. eh.
It is not safe to go back into the lineup. That is what we found this weekend. A lot of injuries. We'll talk about them. Some of which are one of each for our teams that we will talk about here shortly. It was a fun week, number 4, Joel.
Yeah, flying. I tell you because he is still flying Ryan, and
Yep,
I'm
still
still
flying
Captain
Ryan.
Monmouth.
Yep.
But yeah, week 4. My fantasy week sucked. How about yours?
It was probably my best fantasy week of the season, which still doesn't mean it was good. But
Gu- Guillotine team was the only team that won out of all my 5 leagues, and I lost by .35 in the 10-teamer.
that's rough. I am 0-4 in our 10-team league, which is fantastic because that's my only winless team left. The other teams got off the schneid this week. I had my highest priority teams be the ones that crap the bed hardest, so that's always fun. But it did almost have a 100-point win in a dynasty league. That was a
Damn,
full rebuild last
nice.
year. So I mean, there was some good, there was some great. I had a lot of teams. It seemed like it was absolutely feast or famine. Teams that were mauling or teams that were just balling in the corner. There was really no in between this week. So I'll take the good. I got to take the bad with it, but yeah, pretty good week
Wasn't
overall.
that a theme song?
Couple losses.
Effects of life.
Yeah. You take the good, you take the bad. The facts of life. All right. Anyways, let's talk about
Uh,
those
and and
super.
and and two quick thoughts before we get
All right.
into. I'm old. I have no idea who the hell Bad Bunny is. I have
Yeah,
I
he's not my genre of music. I don't. He may be very talented for what he does. Not my style. For anybody who wants to know what my style is, Bad Bunny is a Spanish rap hip hop kind of artist. I went and saw Yellow Card and A Day to Remember on Saturday, and that is rock. So, pretty heavy rock in the case of A Day to Remember. So, a little bit of a different vibe. I don't really care. I didn't really care about Kendrick Lamar last year or The Weeknd or when it was Prince, or I don't care about the halftime show. I know there's some people, no, Bad Bunny, where it's a halftime show. Just
it's when
relax.
you clean up everything after dinner, you sort of take a nap if
It's
depending on
15
how the game is
minutes.
going.
It's 15 minutes. If you don't want to watch it, these remote controls are great nowadays because they have all these buttons. This is not a TV remote, but they have all these buttons. And one of them will say mute. If you don't want to watch it and you don't want to hear it, you hit that button and the sound will go away.
That's usually what I tend to do is I reach for the volume control when you're listening to satellite radio and you hear the host go, and in 3 minutes, here's what we'll be talking about. And you're going, here comes the stupid Aspire commercial.
Yeah. All I want to say is if you have a problem with Bad Bunny doing halftime, one, shut up. It's a musical act in a sporting event. It is not important.
Oh
I
yeah,
see all the time on the
I've
Thursday night,
seen there is internet outrage.
yeah. And there was internet outrage with Kendrick Lamar and The Weeknd, which is why two of those came up specifically. I know, like, I didn't give a crap about Katy Perry doing it
You you
or
you
Lady Gaga doing it.
you,
I
you
don't watch the game for the halftime show.
You have internet outrage because EA has been bought for $55 billion by the Saudis. So people are absolutely going ape bleep about that.
Oh, I thought we were still on Bad Bunny with the internet outrage because I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of I want Metallica. Did you ever think Metallica doesn't want or need to do it? Because
They
apparently
have
the
their own
NFL.
Sirius XM channel
Here's the
currently.
thing. Here's the thing. The Super Bowl doesn't pay real well. They try and get people who
Taylor
either
Swift was like, yeah, no.
she's like, yeah, I'm a billionaire. I'm the most famous person on the planet. I'm not here to get discovered or get some new fans. Like, if you don't know who Taylor Swift is, you're under a rock or your ears physically just don't work because everybody else has heard her at least once and goes, yes or no. And where you fall on that spectrum is absolutely fine. But she said, you don't want to pay me what I'm worth? Cool. I'm going to go chill in the press box or at home, depending on if the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, and enjoy my life. It is not for people who don't want to do something for free or for exposure or just to be, I play the Super Bowl. Like, if you don't want to do it, you don't have
Well,
to.
people have definitely exposed themselves on the halftime show.
That was a number of years ago. Also, halftime show didn't care about was that one. Anyways, so yeah, that's Bad Bunny doing the halftime show. I don't care.
And
I've heard people say I don't understand Spanish and I like his music, and I'm like, that's cool, good for you. I'm not interested in it. Not for me. I'll get up. I'll get another plate of food. I'll get a drink. I'll do something else for those 15 minutes. And if I have to mute it, I'll mute it. It's fine. Not a big
and
deal.
how about the other little revelation that Goodell and the NFL want more Sunday morning football international games, like
Yeah,
one every week? Oh my God!
they want to get to the point where outside of maybe weeks 1 and 18, we're
You
starting at
don't need
9:30 in the
Sunday
morning.
morning freaking football.
Now, as someone on the East Coast, 9:30, not the worst thing in the world. However, there are a lot of people
It
this week, and
sucks
we'll
for
get into the game
fantasy
shortly.
football.
There are a lot of people on the West Coast that woke up and saw Jalen Warren is a surprise inactive at
Wah, wah.
6:30 in the morning their time, and there are a lot of people that don't dedicate their lives and
I,
their
I think I think
happiness to fantasy
I,
football.
I think Dennis Phillips had a post about him not benching Warren. Ouch. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum, bum.
Now I will say I'm one of those weirdos that if I knew I had a football game at 6:30 and I was on the West Coast, I would set an alarm and just be like, "All right, I gotta make sure everybody's gonna play. Oh crap, my guy's out," and switch it. But I know there are a lot of people that aren't psychotic like me. So yeah, more international. I don't mind the international games. I don't. They're nothing special to me. I get what it is. It's to grow the sport outside the U.S. because the NFL really is a North American phenomenon. It's not as big outside
Yeah,
of
because
the
the CFL is actually
US.
trying to sort of change it so it's more like the NFL now.
Well, CFL's weird. I think a team won a game on a missed extra point or a missed field goal.
Yeah, because don't they have that weird rouge thing or
Yeah,
however it goes?
I don't pretend to know the CFL rules. I like real sports.
Yeah, I know, like about the CFL, a very, very minute amount, minute.
Anyways, let's talk about the big injuries of the week, and I think we had to start with the biggest one was the Malik Neighbors ACL. He goes up
Ooh.
to jump for a catch and just there's no power, goes down in excruciating pain. Confirmed he did tear his
Finally got their
ACL.
first win, and
Yeah, and there's been a lot of outrage again about MetLife taking a knee, taking a body part because it's a garbage turf field. It's one thing to have a turf field; it's another one to have a bad one, and they have a really bad one. He will be out for the season, even though the Giants look good with Jackson Dart and Joe Bo Scata. Yeah, um, it's been a day. Anyways, he will be out for the rest of the season, and we will hopefully see him at full strength the start of next year. I would say the next biggest, at least in Cam Scatterbo, not Bo Scatterbo.
and then of course your guy on Monday night. Who, boy,
This was one. I watch a guy on YouTube who's a doctor, Brian Sutterer, and he talks about sports injuries, and he's shown Achilles popping, and he goes back and forth, and he explains the anatomy behind it. I have never had one of his videos be flagged as you might be a little disturbed by this one. And this one was it because his leg was twisted, out of place, laying sideways, flopped down at this weird. As soon as it happened, you go, "Oh, he's gone. He's done for at least the year."
yeah, people definitely said career ending, if not season ending.
You gotta. It's definitely season ending. He already went in for surgery. Fortunately, it sounds like there was no major complications outside of the ligaments and the dislocation because you run the risk of blood loss, blood clotting, nerve damage. Apparently, none of that stuff happened. It was just the ligaments and the knee popping out of place. They've already repaired it. It's going to obviously be a recovery. Tyreek Hill hopes and expects to be back for the start of 2026's football season. I am a doubter in that, and there's a lot of people saying that he's not going to play for the Dolphins again at any point. There's a lot of people saying this is a career-ending, career-threatening injury. And when you think of what Tyreek Hill is, he's not the best wide receiver on the planet. He is the best athlete on the field at any given
Because
time.
his thing is speed.
Speed and agility and quickness. And if you lose that in your knee because it's not 100%, because when they surgically repair it, you're going to lose something. It's going to be good enough. It's not going to be what it was. He just might not be who he has been his entire career. And then you add on the fact that he wasn't exceptional as a wide receiver outside of the speed game. Even if he does come back, I don't think we're ever going to see Tyreek Hill that we know and appreciate on the field. His reaction was so bizarre, like clapping and cheering, because I think it was just a shock response. But he will be out for the season. He will hopefully be able to come back with the start of next season. But that was a very bad injury, and only time will tell.
Yeah, just absolutely, not exactly what you would call the greatest strength of character. How shall we say, off the field? But you never like seeing something like that happen. As you can just imagine, some of the comments just have been on social media brutal, and you just hope that it's not the end for definitely an up and down career. But all we can do is see what time will tell.
Yeah. The next big injury is the Bucky Irving foot sprain.
Sort of came out of nowhere because after the game, it's like, well, okay, I
Like,
guess the Bucks somehow gotten unscathed because Baker's dealing with his foot, Egbuka, hip and groin, and Bucky Irving just wasn't really on the radar, and all of a sudden, MRI posts popped up. Like,
yeah.
what the bleep?
Yeah, foot sprain. He was spotted at practice on crutches and in a walking boot. Now, that is likely just to alleviate the stress of the body weight on it to help it heal a little faster. He is deemed week to week. I would be surprised if he played in week number 5, which starts in 4 days. But
Little
it
stash,
doesn't
little
sound like
Sean Tucker there.
as long as the rest of the injuries we're going to talk about, because we have another running back injury we got to talk about, and that is Trey Benson on IR for at least 4 weeks with a
Wasn't
knee
he the
injury.
sexy pickup from the waiver wire?
Yeah, he was the big one last week. He was already taken in a lot of leagues in the draft, and if they held on to him, he was there. Now it's Amari Demarcado who's going to be the lead back, and he is capable, not inspirational, but he can get the job done. And then the other big piece of finally some positive injury news: Jane Daniels has been medically cleared and did return to practice today. He should be good for
Commanders
week
sure needed
5.
him last week. Oh boy.
He should be good after missing 2 weeks in week number 5. And there's we'll talk more about the third. There's some Thursday night game injuries that we'll talk about specifically for the 49ers. We'll
Some.
talk about those when we get to that game, but we are aware that there's some major outage for the San Francisco Hospital Ward 49ers.
Oh boy, they should just take their whole logo and change it into a hospital Red Cross symbol.
Yeah, get the Twisted Snakes and just have it their way. All right, let's talk about the games. We did mention Jalen Warren
Not
missed.
not the games. Practice, not the games.
We talk about games. The Steelers win 24-21 in a game that really wasn't that close for most part. Jalen Warren did miss the game, but Kenneth Gainwell filled in admirably. The Vikings, it just took a while for them to get going. They shot themselves in the foot a few times, and unfortunately for the Vikings, they do lose this game. Fall to 2-2. The Steelers win and move to 3-1.
Yeah, Steelers BS football. It's alive and it's international. I don't think Skylar Thompson had too much fun because he was apparently robbed in Ireland. And yeah, but the Steelers survive on a late game comeback attempt by the Vikings, and we're all reminded who Carson Wentz really is. He's Carson Wentz, and yeah, how about you gotta love DK Metcalf telling the Vikings to hold the L, and yeah, Steelers more of a surprise than after 4 games than Vikings. Vikings are missing Sam Darnold in a big way. You're having Steelers going to the Super Bowl, definitely trending somehow.
Yeah, the Vikings definitely missing Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's been great for Seattle. I think Vegas wishes they would have went after Darnold. We'll get to that game in a little bit. But the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers has not been fantastic, but he's been good. He's been safe with the football. He hasn't made the big mistakes that can kill a team, and they're getting by. I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are legitimately a Super Bowl team, but the way that AFC North is lining up, they could definitely win that division, have a home playoff game, and maybe get out of the first round for a while, which only time will tell. As a Dolphins fan who's expecting them to clean house, I was hoping Tomlin would be available. That's looking less and less likely by the week. We should talk about our pick'ems real quick because I went 9-6-1 because of a tie we'll talk about later. Joe went 10-5-1, but one of the games we both missed was the next one. Atlanta upsetting the Commanders. Even with Marcus Mariota, I think we were confident the Commanders would show up like they did against Vegas.
Absolute shock.
All of a sudden, Michael Penix looks like an MVP caliber quarterback. After the last 2 weeks before that, he looked completely inept. Bijan Robinson is absolutely a monster on the field. Drake London finally looked like Drake London. Kyle Pitts has been solid all season. Not spectacular, but solid, which is better than he's been. No Terry McLaurin last week. No Jaden Daniels. Offense struggled a little bit. Deebo Samuel still had a pretty good game. But 34-27 win for the Falcons. It wasn't that close throughout. They did kind of claw it back to be a close game the Commanders did. But the Falcons and Commanders, both 2-2. And I got to say, I don't know what to make of the Falcons at the quarter point of the season.
Yeah, because the Falcons remembered how to get past the 30-yard line this week. You also had, as you mentioned, a Kyle Pitts sighting. Go, oh yeah, he's on the team, isn't he? And hopefully you started him. And the Falcons just all of a sudden they're a 500 team going into the bye, as you just had one play that Michael Penix actually took a sack that bent him backwards, and then he got off the turf to deliver an absolutely beautiful deep shot to Drake London on the next play, and is all of a sudden, a tale of two Penixes. I don't know what the plural for Penix would be, but yeah, just these teams are both a letdown. Bit of a letdown. Washington due to injuries, and Falcons because they're the Falcons.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to try and guess the plural of Penixes because that gets very, very dangerous very quickly.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts right now in half PPR scoring is the number 8 tight end on the year. Joel, you want to take a guess at which tight end is number 1 after you see guys like Trey McBride go super early and Brock Bowers go real early?
Ferguson?
Ferguson is number 3.
Ooh. It's not Kittle. He's
2
injured.
ahead of him. Kittle is injured. That is correct. He did start
Hunter Henry?
Hunter Henry, number 1 at the tight end position, just like we all drew it up. Tyler Warren, by the way, is number 2, the rookie for the Colts. He's been very, very good. So Kyle Pitts at 8, been very serviceable. So you can at least play him. I don't know what to make of the Falcons. I guess we'll find out going forward. Next week, the Falcons are on bye. So I guess we won't find out much this week.
They can't lose, can they?
They can't lose, but they also can't win. And then week number 6, they are the early Monday night game because there's a doubleheader. And they host.
Why again? Why?
And the Falcons host the Buffalo Bills. So good luck, Atlanta. You have 2 weeks to prepare for possibly the best team in football.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Bills, they got a little more than they bargained for with the Saints. Yes, they got the win 31-19, but this game was a little uncomfortable, a little too close for the Buffalo Bills' liking. Josh Allen is still very good. James Cook still very, very good. Keon Coleman had a decent week. You started to see him come along. Kendre Miller might be a problem for Alvin Kamara fantasy owners, as he was 11 carries, over 50 yards, and a touchdown. Heavily involved. Kamara is pushing 30. It might be the transition that's happening. Kendre Miller was hated by former head coach Dennis Allen, kept him off the field. In fact, when he got fired, it was rumored that he put Kendre Miller on the IR knowing he was going to be fired for no reason. He just didn't like the guy. I don't know what happened between the two of them, if it was real or if he was just actually injured and we made some story up in the news media and got out to me. I don't know. But the Bills win. They are 4-0. One of 2 remaining undefeated teams. The Saints, 0-4, one of 3 remaining winless teams. Joel, anything for the Bills and Saints?
Repeat.
Bills, Saints, any words on that?
Yeah, no, it's just that the Bills didn't look past the Saints, unlike another team that we'll be talking about down the road here. And they just cooked up a nice win for New York. Yeah, just at the quarter, no surprises. Saints are absolutely as awful as we thought they would be, and the Bills are that team.
The Saints look better than I expected. They still look bad. Don't get me wrong, but they've been competitive in 3 of the 4 games. They got just bashed in by the Seahawks, but they were competitive with the Cardinals, competitive with the 49ers, and they had the Bills that for a while it looked like there was an upset brewing. I'm not saying the Saints are a good team, but they don't look as bad as I expected them to look so far. Next up, the Detroit Lions don't fall victim to the Browns the way the Packers did. They win this game 34-10. Amon-Ra St. Brown is very, very good at football, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs. It was a down week for David Montgomery. Jameson Williams hasn't quite gotten it going quite yet, but the Lions look every bit of the team we expected them to be after that week 1 fumble game, just disaster against Green Bay. Cleveland, they will be starting Dylan Gabriel in week number 5 because Joe Flacco
gets
has been that
longer.
bad. Yes, the jersey, the names on the back, it's one more edition, and I don't know if that's the last one it gets this year. The Browns do lose, but Quinshon Judkins, the running back who had the domestic violence issues or accusation because it was dropped over the offseason, didn't get on the field week number 1, came in very limited work in week number 2, and he is already making a name for himself on the field as he is going into this week the running back 23 in half-point scoring. And remember, he did not play in week number 1 at all and was limited week number 2. He looks like a really good player for this team. The Browns also lost Cedric Tillman, so maybe that's Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku. Maybe they get a little bit better in the next few weeks. But tough sledding ahead for the Browns as they go overseas to play the Vikings.
Lions just roared in Detroit, humbling the Browns. Without that D, Lions might have scored 50. David Montgomery might have been a super scout once upon his time, but his performance in fantasy for week 4 did not merit much of a mention. And at the quarter point, Lions bounced back after early adversity, and Browns stunned the Packers, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, the Browns, they could be 2-2 with that first week 1 loss to the Bengals, but really outside of the Packers game, they just haven't looked great. And even then, they looked real bad in that game for all but the last about half a quarter. Next up, we go to the Dumpster Bowl. Texans beat the Titans 26-0, and oh boy, the Titans look real bad. There was some hope that Cam Ward was the guy. He showed flashes. He still showed a little bit in this game, but he's looking like he is actively regressing. Calvin Ridley for fantasy is cuttable. He has been, I think, his best performance is sub wide receiver 50, worse than that, and that is absolutely unplayable. Tajay Spears is going to be coming back, so that's going to hurt Tony Pollard. For the Texans, at least Nico Collins is doing all right now. Looks like Woody Marks taking over in that backfield. The offensive line is still terrible, but Woody Marks, it's always interesting when the Texans have the backfield of Woody and Chubb.
Yes, we're all 8 years old mentally. We are.
Well, I mean, you got to understand that's also what happened that got Deshaun Watson in trouble, and it's just kind of weird that they replaced him with at least just the names, not the behaviors. Anywho, Joel, tell me about these 2 games because I'm out of bad jokes.
Yeah, but the Texans finally got a win. Titans, you saw what Cam Ward said. Titans had a bucking bad day, and they are butt
ass. Yeah, that would. How would you describe your performance? And this is a quote: ass. And then the reporter went ass, and he went, Hey, it's the reality, and he owned it. So that's probably good news for the Titans that he's like, yeah, that's not good enough. We know that's not good enough, but just the frank ass. That's how I describe my day.
And you know what also was ass? Tennessee Titans receiver rates. That's easy for me to say. I mean, Let's try it again.
Root rates.
Tennessee Titans
Route rates.
receiver root rates. Hey, said right second take two and action in week 4. Are you ready? How bad Calvin Ridley was?
How bad was he?
93% Lockett, 90% Io Manor. Hopefully I said that right.
Io has been very good.
45% Jefferson, 41% Calvin freaking Ridley. Yay.
Yeah, he's bad. He's real bad.
Sorry.
Io Manor looks very, very good though.
And Titans barely alive. Titans, it's the same old song. And are you ready for a money well spent? Not definitely said in the sarcastic tone for the Titans. Are you ready, Flying?
Oh, right.
From Spot Track. Despite the Tennessee Titans having the 6th most expensive offensive line in the league at $51 million, Cam Ward leads in all NFL QBs and sacks taken 17. Heading into week number 5, $51 million. Well spent.
I mean, he's played a couple good teams, like Denver and Houston's got a good front seven. But some of that is just being a rookie, and some of that's just not having a great offensive line that you're overpaying for. All right, but the Titans, one of the 3 0-4 teams remaining. We'll get to the last one when we talk about Monday night. Next up, New England 42, Carolina 13. The team that won 30-0 a week ago got punished by the Patriots. Trevion Henderson finally got a touchdown. He's getting a little more work. Hopefully he will be the guy sooner rather than later. Stephon Diggs, 100-yard game.
Diggs finally got as much action on the field as he's been getting off the field. Hey,
Woody and Chubb back in the news. Anyways, the Panthers, though, Chuba Hubbard was decent once again, but there's just not much here. Ted McMillan was okay. The Panthers just looked every bit as bad as they looked as good the week prior. Patriots go to 2-2, and the reward is a date with Buffalo this week. In prime time.
Yeah, but just man, the Patriots absolutely boat raced the freaking Panthers, and I just hope the Panthers enjoyed what they did to the Falcons last week because they sure got humbled this week. You know, they made fools of the Panthers in week 3. This week, Young slamming the helmet on the field.
Yeah, it's not a good look for your franchise quarterback. Speaking of franchise quarterbacks, or at least maybe, the Giants behind Jackson Dart get their first win of the season, beating the formerly undefeated Los Angeles Chargers 21-18. Now, Jackson Dart, I'm not going to say was great in this game passing the ball, but he did do enough on the ground to help move it, and he was decent through the air. Cam Scatabo looks very much like the real deal at running back. Hopefully he gets more work as time goes on. If this team can start being a little more competitive, it could be a good fantasy opportunity for him. Wan'Dale Robinson with the Malik Neighbors injury, going to have to step up. For the Chargers, Marion Hampton also looking like the real deal finally, but a pretty disappointing game for everybody not named Quentin Johnson in the passing. I mean, Keenan Allen was fine too, but Quentin Johnson just continues to be on fire to start the season. Chargers 3-1, Giants 1-3.
Yeah, one giant step forward. Dart, as you said, Giants get the Dart getting the win. One giant step back with Neighbors ACL. Just oof. You knew that was it for his season. And you had Dart giving a shout out to Wilson. I thought was classy. And did the Chargers look past the Giants, Flying?
Probably a little bit. They beat the Chiefs week 1. The Chiefs pounded on the Giants last week. They probably thought, okay, it doesn't matter if this kid comes in. He's not going to do anything. They probably looked past him a little bit. And to their own perils, they fall to 3-1.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hampton, definitely fantasy MPV of the game. Going to be tough for Herbert and his crew with Alt gone, because you saw that rough loss for the Chargers. And Chargers better regroup after this. You know, Giants get that much needed win, but with Neighbors' year-ending injury, is it going to be enough to make a difference?
I mean, this isn't a playoff team still, but hopefully they can get a good test a sneak peek on what Jackson Dart can bring. If he can make Wan'Dale Robinson or Sterling Shepard into a legit wide receiver one for this team and keep them competitive, I think it at least says that the draft pick was well spent. I don't know if it keeps Dable's job or the GM's job here, but you got to find out what you got in Dart. And unfortunately for him, he's going to have to do it without one of the best receivers in football. Next up, your Bucks did not show up until the second half, but fortunately, the Eagles left at halftime. Eagles win 31-25. They move to 4-0, the only other undefeated team with Buffalo. The Bucks fall to 3-1 and losing Bucky Irving likely for at least a week or two. Not ideal. Fortunately for the Bucks, they did have Chris Godwin on the field, which is a good sight to see, even though he wasn't very productive. Emeka Egbuka is absolutely a legitimate top-end wide receiver for the Buccaneers and probably in the NFL in a couple of years. We'll be looking back at, man, the Bucs got a steal in the late first round. The Eagles offense, I don't know, man. Like, it just doesn't look great, even though they got 31 points. And it was a block punt return for a touchdown to start that game.
A
couple
look. Opportunities. A.J. Brown, he's on social media making cryptic comments again, flying.
Yeah, he's not doing much. Not doing much at all. And he's frustrated, and I get it. The Eagles keep winning. Their offense looks bad, but they keep winning. It's not going to get better.
A.J. Brown's message, cryptic message after a little quiet game. Quote, if you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw.
Yeah, I don't know what it means.
Rich
could mean what it sounds like. It could mean something completely unrelated.
Rich Eisen had the best advice for him, for A.J. Brown, and that was look at your ring.
Yeah, that's a pretty good piece of advice. Again, this Eagles offense isn't going to change until they're challenged. We saw them have to change against the Rams in the second half. It worked out. I'm not worried about the Eagles as a team. I do think this offense is going to have some problems long term.
Yeah, because for the Bucks, it's a 3-1, great start. You knew that crazy last-minute roll wasn't going to continue, especially not against the Eagles. Sorry. That's why I picked them. I was hoping I was wrong, and you were right. But I just had a feeling, especially without Evans being in there. But the one thing, they did win in prime time, so I think that was a nice step in the right direction. And the Eagles are the champs, and they just proved why. So.
And the Bucks had their chances to come back and take that game. So, fun fact for the Bucks: they under Todd Bowles, the first 4 games of the season, they have a combined 11-5 record. That's very good. In the next set of 4 games, games 5 through 8, they have a combined record of 2-10. So historically, this has been when the Bucks have a little bit of a fall off going forward. Hopefully for Joel and the rest of the Bucks fans and anybody who's got these guys in fantasy, that does not occur. The Bucks look like they're a legitimate contender to win the NFC. If you're standing toe to toe with the Eagles, you can stand toe to toe with anybody. So let's see what they do long term.
Speaking of teams going toe to toe against each other.
Next up, the Rams get by because a guy can't hold the ball going into the end zone. They win the game 27-20.
He's in my final thought.
Yeah, Adonai Mitchell, unfortunately, I don't think he was. Look, we've seen people drop the ball at the goal line because they're starting to celebrate. He tried to extend the ball and just it slipped out of his hands. It's not as bad. I know we'll talk about it more, but it's still embarrassing. The Colts lose their first game of the season because of that play and a holding play also on Adonai Mitchell. The Rams moved to 3-1. Kyren Williams not getting it done early on this season. I don't know if there's something wrong with him. I don't know if it's just this offense is going really well through Puka Nacua, who's on pace to shatter records this year. We'll see. The Rams defense, though, looks very, very good. They are playing a very injured 49ers team tomorrow night, so that should be a very interesting performance out of the Rams defense. If they're as good as they look, it could be a long night for San Francisco. But the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, he's still absolutely electric. Michael Pittman, a name we don't bring up enough, has been very good. And, of course, Tyler Warren, I did mention, tight end 2 on the season. So not doom and gloom for the Colts. You lose to the Rams. The Rams are one of those teams you can see lifting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. Losing a close game to them when you have large errors like they did, I don't think it's something you get down on, but it is unfortunate if you're a Colts fan that they do lose this game in that fashion.
Yeah, Jones with his first rough day in 25. Obviously, don't rage drop him. I mean, there's some people you might rage drop like Calvin Ridley, but don't rage drop Daniel Jones. Colts still very good. Final eight, maybe not final four yet. And credit to Stafford for just battling through the injury. That has to be not fun. Rams get it done.
Yeah, I don't know how big of an impact the Stafford injury is, but he has looked great through 4 weeks. Off to a pretty good start. Even he's not a big time fantasy guy. I did make a trade to start a rebuild where I got rid of Josh Allen, got some picks, and got rid of Derrick Henry, got Trevion Henderson, and Matthew Stafford was part of the deal because he's been playing well enough to play. He's the quarterback 12 on the season. When you start a rebuild, you got to make some ugly trades.
As the joke goes on social media with the Indiana Jones and the fourth film, not exactly good.
Yeah, and I don't know how many more they've made because I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones legacy,
Yeah, I think that's
especially
about
the more
it.
current ones. I know the rest. If there's any more after the fourth one, they don't get better. So hopefully for the Colts, they don't follow that trend any further.
And we go. Speaking of the 49ers.
Yeah, next up we go to San Francisco where the 49ers lose to the Jaguars 26-21. That Jags defense looks fantastic this year. They've been turning the ball over a lot, getting the ball for their offense, which is only helping. Travis Etienne looks like the guy we were expecting when we did our fantasy drafts last year when he was coming off his running back 3 season. He's the running back 9.5 point PPR so far this season, and he was drafted in the 9th, 10th round. So if you got him, good job. You got a absolute steal at that point. For the 49ers, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey and nothing else for the most part. We'll talk about the injuries, but Brock Purdy came into this game with a toe injury. Sounds like it was reactivated.
The incredible team of alternating quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's Mac Jones coming up next week. Ricky Pearsall left this game. Juwan Jennings still not 100% ready to go. The 49ers are going to be very fortunate to have an easy schedule, although they're running into the Rams on a Thursday night at the wrong time in that health benefit. And that's already on top of guys like Kittle and Bosa already out. So it's a tough life for the 49ers right now, but the Jaguars, 3-1, should be 4-0 if they were taking care of business against the Bengals in the Burrow injury game. But they look like a legitimate team to at least win that division and maybe make some noise in the playoffs. I'm not going to say Super Bowl contender, but they're decent. They're a pretty good team.
And you had to talk about the WWE-esque moment that happened between Cohen and Salah in this game, where, of course, Cohen was sort of channeling a little Will Smith from an award show, if we remember in a recent memory, where Cohen was saying, "Keep my name out of your mouth. Keep my name out of your mouth. Keep my name out of your expletive redacted mouth." And Saul, of course, responded, "I was trying to compliment your ass. I will expletive your world up. I don't want to you don't want to expletive with me. I will expletive in your expletive life." And then at that point, the Jaguars offensive lineman Walter Little, who was between the two coaches, then turned towards Saul and told him to get out of here. And the exchange ended, and you can imagine somewhere Jim Harbaugh and the Astros pointing and laughing.
Yeah. Not the best look, but I mean, it's a coach that's got some fight in him. He was accused of sign stealing. That's why this all happened. I don't know how valid those claims are. Only time will tell with an
Yeah,
investigation.
drama aside, 49ers need to figure things out. And GG to the Jags, they're finally riding high.
Yeah, both teams 3-1. We just mentioned the Niners going to play the Rams on Thursday night. The Jags hosting the Chiefs on Monday Night Football with a chance to go 4-1. And we will talk about the Chiefs now as they beat the Ravens 37-20. Patrick Mahomes looking like, well, Patrick Mahomes, what we expect out of him. Lamar Jackson, though, hamstring injury, left this game. Sounds like it'll be Cooper Rush in week number 5 against Houston.
Do you rush out to get him?
No, you don't. In fact, I don't know what this is going to make that offense look like. I did just mention the Dynasty traded Henry and got Trevion Henderson. It is part of a large deal. But part of that is Henry's age. Part of that is his fumbling. And part of that is Lamar Jackson is one of those guys that is a speed running kind of player. If his hamstring is a problem, we've seen it with guys like George Kittle and Mike Evans, where the hamstring stays a problem. It doesn't 100% heal unless you sit for a while. And I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to take himself out of the game for long enough to properly heal. This could be an issue that lingers, and that will hurt that offense, including Derrick Henry. Mark Andrews, another good week, bouncing back from the slow start. I don't think anybody on the Chiefs is really playable at this point. We'll see. Worthy was good in his return, and Rashid Rice is a couple weeks away. But the Chiefs, 2-2, they did get the job done. It was their best performance of the season. Maybe the Chiefs are getting right, but the Ravens' defense is ravaged by injuries, so it could just be the Ravens are not what we thought they were. They're too injured on defense to compete, but only time will tell.
Yeah, Chiefs worthy of victory again. Has the Ravens Super Bowl window closed, and just all of a sudden, see what Mahomes is like when he has somebody else actually to throw to. Holy Shinobi and the Ravens, and what vexes thou? And Chiefs are still back and still alive. Alive.
Yeah, we'll see if they can compete with the Chargers, but the Chiefs, one of the teams to beat in the NFL. You got to think it's going to get going, and if they can beat Jacksonville, they're 3-2. They're well in contention still, obviously, but they will be climbing the ranks. Next up, the Bears still suck, but the Raiders are a little bit worse. The Bears should have lost this game in the last-second field goal, but it was blocked. Blocked field goal seems to be the trend of the year so far. The Bears win 25-24. Geno Smith looks bad. 3 interceptions in this game. Caleb Williams, not so bad. Rome Odunze, first player since some no-name guy to score 4 touchdowns in the first 4 weeks. Some no-name guy by the name of Walter Payton for the Bears. So I hear that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good company to be in, this no-name Walter Payton, whoever he was. Definitely not a legend or anything. But that's Odunze, 4 touchdowns, or touchdowns in the first 4 weeks, the only other player in the Bears history to do that. Yeah, I don't think I trust the Bears, but I definitely don't trust the Raiders going forward. Joel, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, how about Ashton Genty on Sunday? 33 freaking .5 PPR points, 155 total yards, 3 touchdowns. And the Bears just have to be ecstatic to be 500 and have a win streak going. Like, what's this? What's a win streak? And they're like, I don't know, son. We're the Bears. And like the joke meme goes, and the Raiders, whatever you're doing, it ain't working. You need to turn it on and turn it off again.
You better stop that. That's what their fans are saying, because Geno Smith is just turning the ball over at a very high rate. Not what you want to do. I don't trust the Bears, but the Raiders look.
You need more advice from Tom Brady.
Yeah, the Raiders look really, really bad. The Bears go into a bye week at 500, and then they come out of that and go to Washington, the place of the Hail Mary game. That derailed their season last season when I think they were like 3-1 too.
Wasn't that the start of all of the Bears' problems leading up to Eberflus?
Yeah, they were 4-2. And then I don't think they won a game until the Packers game in the last week of the season or something. It was one of those just wild. People said, oh, that derailed the season. And it's hard to say one play derails the season, but the evidence really did back that up. We'll see. The Bears, you got to hope, if you're a Bears fan, that Caleb Williams and this team steps up this year, because it is year 2. You do have an offensive guru at head coach. You should be better. Maybe this is the start of things to come. But Ashton Genty, it was good to see him do well. I know I don't have any shares of him. I traded him away in that dynasty where I almost had the 100-point win because I needed a lot of people. I got Pickens and some picks and Achane, so it worked out. Been in dynasty. George Pickens, we'll talk about here in a second. He was fantastic. Anyways, let's go to that game now.
Speaking of, there's no tying in football.
We'll talk more about the tying in football in my final thought, because I have a few today. The Packers and the Cowboys tie 40-40. the second highest scoring tie, it was talked about all week after that, between the Boston Patriots and the Raiders was 43-43. Second highest tie of all time, Packers and Cowboys at 40 apiece. Romeo Doubs, 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, very good in this one. George Pickens, 2 touchdowns, filling the role of CeeDee Lamb very, very nicely. Javonte Williams kept going, and Micah Parsons technically got a sack. It was for no gain, no loss. But it did have a big impact because Dak Prescott could have run into the end zone in overtime to put this one in a really bad situation. Both teams get one possession in overtime. Cowboys kick a field goal. Packers kick a field goal in the red zone when time expires to get the 40-40 tie. The Packers 2-1-1, and that means my board has to have a stupid tie on it back here on both of our pick'ems because you can't lose a tie. And yeah, the Cowboys 1-2-1.
Yeah, this game, definitely the 2 players of the game had to be George Pickens, 31.7 PPR points. You're happy if you started him. And then, yeah, and actually, sorry, my bad. That was actually Josh Jacobs' stat line. And George Pickens had a pretty darn good game, too. 2 touchdowns, 134 yards, 8 receptions, 153.0 rating when targeted. So if you imagine you just your wide receiver was George Pickens and your running back was Josh Jacobs that night flying.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good performances, and George Pickens was fantastic. George Pickens, who did I pair him with? When Nico Collins, he was very good. I had Bucky, I had Achane, I had Hampton. I had a really good week where I've got George Pickens. So he's been fantastic. The Packers and the Cowboys, I really don't know what to make of this game. The Packers defense looked terrible. I think the takeaway here for the Cowboys is your offense is really good. If your defense gets together, you're going to be competitive. Dak Prescott, George Pickens, Javonte Williams, Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb when he comes back. These are all fantasy assets you should be going and getting if you can. For the Packers, you can't rely on Romeo Doubs to be 3 touchdowns every week. It tends to flow. And Christian Watson is supposed to start practicing this week coming off his knee injury last season, which is only going to muddy those waters a little bit further.
Yeah, because Pack, you kind of looking at the corner bounce back, and I don't think they don't lose in Jerry World, but they don't win. I think it's the game of the year, if not decade. And Dallas fought back tooth and nail without Lamb, so you have to give a GG for the Cowboys. And Pack good year, Cowboys meh because of those games that they went into overtime and that they just should have taken care of in regulation, and it's another overtime, and this one's a tie.
Yeah, we'll talk about the culture of ties in my final thoughts. I got a couple today at least.
Yeah, but
Next up,
yeah, it was just sort of it was an interesting finish that I don't think anybody saw, but kind of a letdown on the other hand too.
it's one of those things when you see if this was a 6-6 tie, you go, that game didn't deserve better. This one 40-40 was back and forth the entire way. You had a extra point return for a safety 2-point, whatever they call that. You had a lot of unique, entertaining things. You watch it for 3.5 to 4 hours, and it's, oh, cool, we tied. Let's just go home. Yeah, it just doesn't sit right with me. Next up, Monday Night Football's more competitive. Probably not the more hyped game, but the more competitive game.
Dolphins had the meme, you got the win. What did it cost you? Everything.
Yeah. The Dolphins do win 27-21 in a game that the score really wasn't as close as the final would make you think. Braylon Allen leaves with a knee sprain. The Jets looked awful. They had their first drive looked fantastic. They ran the ball down the Dolphins' throat and then fumbled it at the 1. Justin Fields salvaged his long touchdown run was a broken, terrible play that just because he's the best athlete on the field at the time, he was able to run a 43-yard touchdown that should have been a 6-yard sack on 4th down. The Jets, they're a bad team. I don't think Aaron Glenn's going to last very long as a head coach. You're seeing some of the guys
dancing on the sideline.
Yeah. Did you hear the Breece Hall quote?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, do you want me to? I have it written down.
Please do.
Breece Hall, when asked to sum up the loss via Zach Rosenblatt, said, quote, "Teams shoot themselves in the foot when we come back No, teams shoot themselves in the foot, then we come back and shoot ourselves in the head.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a good strategy to do worse than the other team at shooting yourself in body parts. Ask Plaxico Burress, it's not how you want to do things.
Yeah,
The
I just
Dolphins, though,
saw that and I was like,
it's a great quote. It really is a great quote. It's one of the top ones. Hopefully, it gets a lot more play going forward. The Dolphins do get the win. They do lose Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. Darren Waller. Darren Waller was on his couch. We trade away John U. Smith, signed Darren Waller. He's ramping up. He's ramping up. He can't get on the field. He's ramping up. He can't get on the field. Finally gets on the field. 2 touchdowns. Looks like Darren Waller of old. I forgot how good Darren Waller was. And just this little, he wasn't out there a lot, but this little segment showed how good he was before, showed how good he still could be. Hopefully for the Dolphins, because they're going to absolutely need him. Hopefully he can get the job done going forward.
yeah, because it was just pretty much the HN and Waller show. I mean, Hill was having a good game until he was unfortunately carted off with his season-ending injury. And other than two, I mean, it is pretty much that's it for the fantasy feast. And it was Fields, Wilson, Hall, and you didn't have much for the Jets as they because every time they looked like they were trying to get something going, they just went.
Yeah, it wasn't great for the Jets, and I don't expect it to get a lot better.
If you
Um,
if you were wondering what quote could possibly put Cam Ward's "We were asked" quote and knock that out of the top quote, Brees Hall's quote knocked Cam Ward's quote out of the top slot.
both all timers for different reasons, but
Yeah,
very good quote week.
Cam Ward's quote's now number 2, Brees Hall number 1 for the week.
I just want a Cam Ward poster that just has in quotes ass on it. That's all I want. I don't want it. No explanation needed. Oh, do you? No, I love him. That was his best quote. Ass.
How
Anyways,
how was your day? How was your day? It was ass.
ass. Yeah. I'm gonna drop that sometime in the next week, and someone's gonna look at me and be like, "Don't blame me. Blame Cam Ward." That's an appropriate answer now. You can say that it worked. That was well, it was working. Anyways, last game of the week: Broncos 28-3
Speaking of
over the
ass,
Bengals. Speaking of ass, the Broncos.
mm,
J.K. Dobbins first 100-yard rush in the last 38 games for the Broncos. R.J. Harvey looks pretty good. Sutton, Mims, even Franklin looking pretty good. Bo Nix looked back to form, but that's what happens when you play the Bengals
we are
defense. It's still
all
terrible.
believers again.
Yeah, Bo Nix on that team, 100-point, almost. I think it was 99.4 or something. He was a quarterback on that team. He had a very nice night as well. The Bengals, ass.
You get the Will Smith meme looking around at the empty room.
Yeah, they need to do something. I'll talk about a theory I've got in my other final. Again, I've got final, which is weird. I usually am thinking of one on the
So
spot when Joe's going through
we're
his.
transposed. I only have one. You have multiple now.
Yeah, I've got 3, which is the opposite of normal, and hopefully, I mean, maybe you'll intersect with one of mine, and I'll only have 2, but that's fine. The Bengals, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, people you drafted very highly in fantasy due to the Joe Burrow injury and the bad offensive line looking like
I was finally happy in
real
one
bad
team
picks.
where I was like, yes, I have a Bengals stack. I'm ecstatic. I'm very pissed off now.
Yeah, my Bengals stack was in our 10-team league. That is 0-4. And it's in my highest priority league where it is just hyper competitive. And I have since dropped Joe Burrow and am shopping actively to try and trade Jamar Chase away because, frankly, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
did you
getting
see
any.
Jamar Chase tell everyone, okay, y'all be like, leave me alone or something to that effect on social media?
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to get any better. And that's the long and the short of it. Both teams 2-2, but drastically different projections for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just my quote on Cincy was for Cincy. Well, yeah, a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, let's go to the Thursday night football game. San Francisco at the Los Angeles Rams. No Brock Purdy. Still no George Kittle.
And macaroni and cheese Jones.
Yeah. No Ricky Pearsall. No Jawan Jennings. It's going to be Mac Jones at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Jake Tonjes at tight end, and Demarcus Robinson at the number 1 wide receiver position. San Francisco is the walking wounded. Christian McCaffrey is good enough to steal a win on his own, and I definitely want to admit that. But it's not necessarily the best bet to rely on a 29 to 30-year-old running back to just overwhelm the other team like they're going to have to. Hopefully, he stays healthy this game because the Reaper's been going around that locker room, and CMC's been hiding in the corner. It's been good so far for him. For the Rams, Puka Nacua, Devonta Smith, very good. I mean, Matthew Stafford is actually a streamable quarterback, which is not something we normally say. Kyren Williams hasn't looked great, but he's going to have a breakout at some point. I kind of think it's this week. I just have a sneaky feeling San Francisco is just too beat up. Eventually, they're going to wear out. Rams at home on Thursday night always benefits the home team. Thursday Night Football. With all the injuries, this one is a tall task for San Francisco. But Joel, do you see the San Francisco miracle?
I want to believe in miracles. Do you believe in miracles? Not for this game, as I know Thursday Night Football sort of has this weird logic algorithm. The fields of probability are switched. But when you have 49ers wide receivers this week will be some combination of Kendrick Bourne, DeMarcus Robinson, as you mentioned, Marquise Valdez-Scantling, and Sky Moore. I'm picking Rams. Don't blink. Don't think. I don't think the 49ers stand a chance in bleep.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy pick. If you are using your brain, you're taking the Rams. I'm on board with that one. I'm not saying MVS and Sky Moore and DeMarcus Robinson aren't good players. They can probably help move the ball. But it's a tall task when that is your entire team on the receiving, and then
Especially
you
when
have
you
Jake
keep switching quarterbacks back and flipping forth.
I mean, Mac Jones looked good in his starts, but it's still a tall task. The Rams look like one of the best teams in
Different
football.
personality behind center. It means it's a little bit different offense.
Yeah, if this was a lesser team, maybe in Arizona, maybe at Carolina, I might go the other way still. But the Rams are still just too good. They're just too good, and we're gonna take the Rams to win. All right, Joel, let's go to your final thought, and we'll wrap this up in hopefully under an hour and 5 minutes.
Talking about, we were talking about Adonai Mitchell before. His goal line fumble cost $425. Daniel Jones owners, their matchup source from the Fantasy Genius Colts also lost by 7. Today's lesson: celebrate after, not before, because then you had the whole thing where the question is, why wasn't the Rams DST not credited with a fumble recovery for Adonai Mitchell's huge drop? I'm censoring what was instead written there. starts with a B. Anywho, yeah, and I'm going to do the TLDR version because you literally have this entire explanation, whole bunch of rules from the NFL that would probably resemble a thesis. But since this is final thoughts and not final thesis, flying. TLDR, because the Rams did not themselves recover said fumble, but were awarded the ball by rule. They got no points, even though Mitchell lost points for the fumble and also cost Jonathan Taylor a touchdown. So that's actually 14 points if you think about it.
Yeah, he was bad. He was
that
real bad.
The knucklehead ended up costing his team that I'm sure he is being reminded about by his teammates and coaches all week long, and that is my final thought.
I mean, if they're good teammates, they're not giving it to him too hard. They're just saying, don't do that again. I mean, Jonathan Taylor did this last year where he dropped on the one. Hopefully it's a teachable moment and they'll get better. All right, first final thought. The Bengals, go get a quarterback. For the love of God, go get a quarterback. I don't care if it's Kirk Cousins, find a way to make that cap situation work. I don't care if it's the remainder, whoever the Giants are willing to part with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Dear God, give us Jameis Winston. With those weapons, let's see it. Go get somebody, because Jake Browning is not capable of running this team behind that offensive line. You need someone who's a little bit more quick twitch, reactionary, can get the ball out fast, because he's just not the guy. Go do something, because you are the most unwatchable team in football without him. It's going to be a really bad season without Joe Burrow if you don't go get somebody. Next up, ties. Stop it. Every other sport in the United States that we care about, I'm not going to count soccer because most people don't care about soccer, they don't have ties. The NHL has gotten to a shootout system.
The WNBA does not have a tie.
That's not important either. But every other sport has a way to break a tie, whether it's overtime until it's decided. NHL has a shootout. Um, Even NASCAR, like if you have an accident, you have your green white checkered finish that you do if you go over the lap limit. Like they have something to say we have a clear winner. In the NFL, the most watched sport in this country is like, nah, this great game, we're gonna let it be a tie. Keep the rules as is, put the timer to 15 minutes, and then if it expires, you keep playing. Go to double overtime. Have it where both teams get one possession, no matter what. And then if they both get the same score, it's sudden death from there. Or Pat McAfee said, do like a golden boot thing where you kick from a certain point on the field and you go back and back and someone misses it. Do something, not just, yep, we tied. That's it. Third, and most importantly to me, these Dolphins black jerseys were very, very popular because obviously being a Dolphins fan, you interact with people like, oh, those jerseys were awesome. They're called the Dark Water jersey, I believe is what the team called it. It was a part of the rivalry collection. Make that the night game jersey. Make that the NFL's version of the Penn State whiteout if you can, but make that the night jersey. It looks great in the dark. It looks great on the field. It looks great even if your knee is going at the completely wrong direction because Tyreek Hill, that looked very painful, but the jersey still looked cool. Please, Miami, keep these jerseys. It's supposed to be a one-time thing. Keep these jerseys just as the Thursday, Sunday, or Monday night game. Just keep those as your jerseys. They look really, really good on the field. They match the theme, dark water, and at the night games. Just do it. The field looked good. It looked better than that Arizona Cardinals tortilla jersey that it looked like. Just do it. Just do it the right way. There are some good ones. I'll say this: the Rams and the Niners have very good jerseys. I don't think either one of them's this week. I will double check that, but at the same time, not great. Keep the jerseys. So that is my round and round and round of final thoughts. And with that, we will end this in just over an hour. Week 5 already comes quick. I've been flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motormouth, Joel Verlin.
And we'll be back in a couple days to do the rest of week 5. We'll recap the Thursday night game that we expect to not be very close, but who knows? And hopefully we'll get some more injury clarification on some of those guys that are missing the Wednesday. Maybe Bucky Irving is back tomorrow. I mean, that'd be great, but I don't know. We'll get some clarification and we will go from there. So with that,